I'm officially a Peace Corps volunteer, and I am officially at permanent site. I came here the day before yesterday, and was surprised to find out that there was a wedding happening, both the day I came and yesterday. In fact, that's the reason why I'm filming a day late today. It's because I was at the wedding late, and figured it best to film in the morning instead. So this leads us into being able to talk about some interesting differences between Jola culture, or Gambian culture in general, and American culture. For starters, the wedding and the marriage ceremony are two very different affairs. Firstly, the new couple will get married. This will be the tying of the marriage, is what they often call it, in which they go to the imam and it becomes official, the two of them are married. This traditionally happens in the woman's village. After that, I believe the woman goes to the man's house. And then later, there's a big celebration. There's a lot of food and whatnot, and dancing, and that's what they call the wedding. That's what we were doing yesterday. As for another interesting thing, traditionally the parents of the bride and groom are not involved in the wedding or the marriage ties. A stark contrast, I think, to American weddings. I'm not 100% sure if both are not allowed to both ceremonies. As I understand it, the groom's parents do not go to the marriage tying, and the bride's parents do not go to the wedding. And this would make sense in the context of a traditional culture, because they would be attending the ceremony in the village in which they lived. You wouldn't be traveling all the way to another village. Go back far enough in time and travel is a very difficult feat. But that said, now that travel is much easier and much more accessible, traditions remain. With what happened at the wedding, I will say the big thing that happened a lot was eating. We ate and we ate and we ate. In fact, I had 5 meals, and it was about 4 or 5 o'clock when someone else was being served another meal, and the guy invited me to eat with him, and he called it lunch. And I I was full 3 meals ago, to be honest. I'm done for the day. And, well, not everyone was done for the day. I will say that much. Now I want to talk about another interesting thing, something that I personally find interesting, and that is Jola dancing. The first 24 hours of Jola dancing I saw was mostly just the children and the older women, and for that reason it was a lot simpler. It was mostly just some stepping, some arm motions, and overall very simple. And I had heard that Jolas were the best dancers, and I thought, honestly, at this point, after seeing these dance moves time and time again, I thought, oh wow, the Gambians must not be that into dancing. But then night fell on the last night, and there they had a DJ. A circle formed, and then the serious dancers came out. In comparing it to other dances, it's a sprint. The Jolas are sprinters in their dancing. They don't do marathons. Jola dancing consists of a lot of rapid leg movements that tend to be very small, very tiny, but very fast. Very little in the motion in arm movement, and in fact the torso in general tends to stay rather still. There's sometimes some diminutive pelvic thrusts in there, but normally it's almost like you're watching a still statue that's just vibrating across the ground. And one of the ones that was in particular fascination to me was, well, to add some context, in community college I became famous or infamous, either way works, for doing a dance move that everybody called the Nick Shuffle. It was this silly move where I would scuffle along the floor, and you couldn't do it for very long because it wore your legs out very fast and was really hard to do on anywhere that you had any kind of traction. That said, I was amazed to see Jolas doing basically the Nick Shuffle. That said, not even the Nick Shuffle, they did a better version of it, where they were shaking their knees as they did it, and they could go a lot farther with a lot less energy with it. Having tried it out, it's not easy, but that said, it is definitely something that I feel like with practice It definitely could be a lot easier to do. It it was amazing to see and a lot of fun to join in on. I have no idea how well I did, but they seemed to appreciate it. My aunt, and when I say aunt, a fellow Peace Corps volunteer who I am related to through Gambian family connections, texted me this morning telling me that her family had told her that I was apparently a good dancer. I don't know if that's good for a foreigner, good for somebody who was not born Jola, or if that actually just meant good, but either way, it was fun as hell to dance. So, on the subject of dancing, I've kept you in the dark long enough. The orange dancers from last week's video were called Kankurango. They're a type of Mandinka dancer and ritualistically there to scare away evil spirits, specifically evil spirits that come after children who have just been circumcised, young boys. I haven't heard what those evil spirits are, but my first guess would be gram-negative bacteria. If I hear more about what those evil spirits are, though, I'll tell you. There may be a huge well of cultural significance here that I'm missing. And for the record, grain of salt with everything here because this is a Mandinka dance, and my main source was Jola for this, so there could be some differences and there could be some misinformation here. But I was also told that when you see the Kankurango, you have to run because he might beat you. And given that he's carrying around machetes, slapping machetes together with a loud clasp, yeah, I don't want him beating me. I don't think I'd survive him beating me. That said, you don't have to just fear the Kankurango every time a baby is circumcised, because there is also another dancer, the Mamamparang, who is there just to celebrate and dance and have a good time. Even though he looks honestly just as scary, he is actually really nice, and he's just there to have fun. At least that's what my sister-in-law says. If I find more information on them, then I will be sure to tell you. This was something that we saw at a cultural festival that was put on specifically for Peace Corps volunteers, so this may not be an exact representation, easily and likely is touristified for us. But that said, it is still a fascinating thing to witness, and something that is at least rooted in the culture that we are here to serve in. Now, as a closing remark, as you might have guessed, I'm still trying to figure out which camera angles are the best ones for this, where you can see me best, where you can hear me best, and yeah, if you have any input, feel free to say something. But until that time, I'm gonna say, Banakin. Till next time.